day on the road here, so I figured I would post a video that's a little bit overdue. Most of you know that I did a supertotal meet a couple weeks ago. What a supertotal meet is basically powerlifting and weightlifting. So the first night was snatch and then the clean and jerk, and the second day was squat, bench, and deadlift. So I had done some weightlifting meets in the past. I'd done 2 weightlifting meets in the past, one a few years ago, just to kind of see what it was all about, get a better understanding. Last meet was, I took it a little bit more seriously, learned how to train around some injuries. Still really wasn't able to get a full training cycle in, but it was definitely the start of my next training block, or current training block, if you want to call it that, from a macro cycle type of standpoint, where I established some true totals, or a true total, and I know where my weak points are and what I have to work for from there. So that was really the start, I would say, of my competitive weightlifting career, since there was so much time and space in between those first 2. So going into the super total, a lot of things happened. I had decided to start the American Strength Foundation. I was in the middle of moving. There was a lot going on, so I wasn't really able to give it the time and dedication that I really should have, and that's on me for being inconsistent. It's on me for finding excuses. So that was, that's the ugly part of the training, I would say. So in a lot of ways, I defaulted to my previous training methods, or I guess I would say technical errors and things like that. So starting off with the snatch, things actually went pretty decent. I was training fairly consistently with the snatch in the full position, so rather than power snatches, which is something that I've kind of unfortunately resorted to at meets in the past. I felt that I was catching lower, although maybe it was still a little bit powery. But snatch went well. I actually hit a 1 kilo PR. That was like the highlight of the entire meet for me, was a PR, a meet PR in the snatch, and a lifetime PR. So that was fun. And during that process, I was pretty neck and neck with my roommate, Matt. He'll show up on this channel sooner or later if you don't know who he is already. But me and Matt have a pretty close snatch to one another. So I was kind of jockeying with him for position, so to speak, and trying to work the clock. We had a really small group of guys. There was only 8 men in our session. So, like I said, with our numbers being pretty tight, basically, if I went up a kilo, that meant that he was up next. And having an understanding of how the time clock works and how to manipulate it in such a way, whether that's to get more rest, whether that's because you want another athlete to go before you do, whatever the situation is, I really had the opportunity to mess around with that a little bit. And I would encourage you to do so too. If it's your first meet and you're not really sure how the clock works, and instead of just taking your 1 kilo PR or bump, just be aware of how you can manipulate the clock if need be. Like I said, I wasn't really in a position to do that until my 3rd meet, where I had seen it run a few times, and I had a better understanding of how long I had in between, what would happen if I called a higher weight, what would happen if I missed it, all those types of things. So going into the clean and jerk, I didn't quite have as much leverage. I knew that I would have some issues with my press out because I wasn't dropping down quite low enough. And again, when I talk about my hit or miss training, I would say that one thing that I would have liked to spend more time with is my foot positions in my split jerk receiving position. So again, I was able to lift weights on the platform that I had never attempted before, but technically I was not able to make the lifts. So they called me for a press out, but ultimately I believe that is a result of not dropping deep enough in the receiving position of the split stance. So that is something I will be working on throughout this trip, just from a body body weight standpoint and being familiar with that position and dropping into it quickly, even without weights. And hopefully that will transfer over when I do get back into the gym later in the month. And ultimately, I would say, as far as calling weights with that goes, Matt is stronger than me. So I kept my attempts a little bit more conservative in the clean and jerk, because I wanted to hit my weights. I didn't want to just bomb out because of a lockout. So again, I matched my meet PR, and then did a couple kilo bumps there. And again, I hit what I wanted to for the day. I knew that I wasn't going to have any huge PRs. I was lucky to get away with 1 kilo in the snatch without even realizing it at the time. But going into the jerk, I had hit my goal. My goal was to match what I did the meet before, and hopefully clean it up technically, and maybe go for a little bit more. So once I hit that on my opener, I felt pretty good about the next two. So I actually missed my second and went up another kilo for my third attempt, hoping that the heavier weight would force me to be a little bit more aggressive in my lockout, and maybe it would turn out okay. That was not the case. So that was good and fun. Everybody had a good time, and Matt won a t-shirt. That's a friendly little competition. We don't get into it too deep, but it's nice to know that there's $20 riding on the line for some fresh training gear when you're competing with your roommate. So I'd encourage you to do that, and that's something we've been doing for a long time. Way back in, I want to say it was 2015, we had a little combine, me and him, and it sparked good old-fashioned competition, friendly competition. And I think that's something you should encourage between your buddies, as long as it's healthy. Yeah, try to beat each other's numbers. He's got a bigger snatch, you got a bigger clean and jerk. Okay, let's go for a total. See what comes of it. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and a gentleman said that I believe the quote had originally come from Glenn Pendley. I could be wrong about that, but he said that training with other partners in a competitive setting is like a performance-enhancing drug. Whether it's a hormonal response or endorphins, as humans, we want to compete and beat somebody. So even if it's not our own personal best, if we were able to beat the other guy, that's fun. So do that, and you'll lift more. And at the same time, help each other out. So as much as I might like to shit talk, at the same time, I want to hear that shit talk coming back and have people telling me what I'm doing wrong, so that I can address that for the next training session, for the next set, for the next meet, whatever the situation is. So that's enough about weightlifting. But going into the powerlifting side of things. Now, I had never done a powerlifting meet, and Matt actually had done one in the past. So, I was pretty confident with everything. Having done some weightlifting meets in the past, I knew that some things would run a little bit differently. I think the biggest difference is that in weightlifting, there is, the commands are huge, but we won't get into that quite yet. The way that the session is organized, or the flight, if you will, is very different. So in weightlifting, you have a session, which is, let's say it's 8 guys, and the order of those 8 guys is based on the weights that you will be lifting next. So if I had a 70, 71, and 74 kilogram snatch, there's a potential that I would follow myself for all of those lifts if nobody is attempting anything between 70 and 74. So that becomes interesting, and when I talk about the clock, and maybe I would call 76 instead of 74, and that way somebody who had called 75 would go before me, and then I would have an extra minute of rest. And also, if that was somebody that I was intentionally competing with, I would know whether or not something like 80 total athletes. So way different from an environment and energy type of a standpoint. There's a lot more going on. 2 platforms, and first up was a squat. So I knew that it was going to be a long weekend for me, and I was a little bit. I wasn't too aggressive with my openers for powerlifting. I just wanted to make sure that I got a total, and again, see where I would go from there. I was at my lightest that I have probably ever been in my life. So with that being the case, I knew that I wasn't going to hit any personal records, but I also knew that it was my first meet, so everything I did was going to be a meet PR. So that was kind of fun. Kind of no pressure type of a scenario with that. But the squat was good. I opened up with 125, which for me is a weight that I should be able to hit any day of the week. Actually, warming up, I had asked, can I adjust my opener? So I dropped it to 115 before the session had begun, and I go out for my first attempt, and again, I knew that the commands would be an issue in the bench press. That's pretty typical that people show up to a meet for their first time and they woof on the bench press commands. But I wasn't too worried about it with the squat. Made sure I listened to the meet director as he went through it. Shout out to Carly, Mustache Fitness, for hosting the event and teaching all us rookies how it's done. But as soon as I got under the bar, I defaulted to what I do in the gym, right? Bars on your back, squat that shit, put it back in the rack. That's how it is. That's what I do in the gym. Take it off, get settled, make sure that everything's tight. As soon as the lift is over with, back in the rack. So, there's 2 commands in the squat. One is start, one is rack. Well, get the bar on my back, standing up nice and tall, let it settle in. As soon as I start to move the barbell, I hear one of the side judges say, lock your knees. And at that point, I was already halfway down, came right back up, boom, right back in the rack. Carly pulled me aside, he said, relax, slow down, wait for your commands. Lock your knees at the top, hold it before you rack. Okay, second attempt, same weight. By the way, they never changed it to 115, so it was 125, which is 275 pounds, nothing crazy. Like I said, that's a weight that I could hit pretty consistently over the past few years. On my heavy end of the spectrum, but it's never felt comfortable. 275 has never been comfortable on my back. So as we get into the second attempt, calm my nerves down. Okay, that wasn't as heavy as I thought it was going to be. Just listening to the commands, treating it like an opener, making sure I get it done. So 2 judges, as I'm stepping onto the platform, tell me, wait for my commands. And I said, I know, I get it. Don't worry. So, sure enough, unrack the bar, lock my knees out, hear the start command, go down, come up, right back in the rack, miss the rack command. So, we know that there is a lot of heightened excitement with these types of things, right? Because people are getting all hyped up on caffeine, they're sniffing ammonia caps, jumping up and down, listening to Slipknot, all the things to get more hyped. But in that moment, I didn't need to be more hyped. I didn't need to have more physical output. What I needed was to be relaxed. I needed to think about the process, and I needed to have a default to go to. So I went to my default that was me lifting in a big heavy power rack, and I could just sling the weight back in. It's not the case when you're at a meet. So pattern for me to unrack the bar, pause, straighten my knees, squat the weight, pause, demonstrate control, wait for a command, and then rack it. That was a software that I had never downloaded. I never did it. So is that laziness and skipping sessions and letting life get in the way of training? No, that's just plain stupid for training a movement in a way that you will never be competing. So if you plan on competing as a powerlifter, every one of your heavy work sets should be in that category of listening to the commands in your own head. Even if you don't have a coach to call them out, even if you're not completely sure exactly what's going on, watch a video or two, read the rule book, and play it through your own head. You be your own coach, and you be your own side coach, and say, start and rack. And take your time with that stuff. There's no sense in rushing it. That was a squat. Bench press went really smooth. So, and I will say this, when I squat fast. Do a lot of dynamic work, try to get it over with, and it clean. It says get up, right? Get up as quick as you can. In a bench press, I know that is something, if I'm doing a bench press in the gym, it's because I know that I might at some point compete in it. It's not necessarily for building, although it might be for building pressing strength. I shouldn't deny that at all. If I'm truly bench pressing, then I'm going to probably do a little bit of a pause, and I'm probably going to demonstrate control at the top of it, just because of the nature. I'm not going to ditch a bench press the way that I would ditch a back squat. So some of my training from a software standpoint, maybe I didn't have the hardware to move big weights, not enough strength in my arm.
Road closed in 464 miles. Your route has been updated.
Taking the bar out, showing that I have control with locked elbows, pausing at the bottom, demonstrating control before I re-racked it, listening to all those commands went very smooth. Again, my weights were not aggressive, so my opener went really smooth. Second attempt, I said, again, this was just over 185, which is a weight that I would say has felt easy at certain points in my life, but because I've been so far away from the bench press, focusing on Olympic lifting, that was for me a solid second lift. It moved really, really slowly, and if I had been close to, let's say, 90 kilograms, where I thought that I was going to be able to bench 200 pounds, then I probably would have gone for that, but I didn't think that I had that much in me. So, and I wanted to save what energy I did have for the deadlift. So after my grinder at what ended up being 187, which I think was 85 kilos, maybe it was 80, I'm not sure. It was 187 now, the way. I decided to pass on my third bench press attempt, which is not something that's very common, but I felt good about that decision. I think that I maybe could have gotten 1 or 2 more kilos on my bench, but it wasn't a high priority, whereas I wanted to kind of see what I could do in the deadlift. I was curious where that was at, and what I'd rather get an extra kilo or 2 in the deadlift than burn myself out with benching. So fast forward, had a pretty long break there. Deadlift technique has kind of been a little back and forth lately. It's one of those things that I've probably trained the most consistently over the years, but I've also changed it the most over the years. So whether that's conventional to sumo to clean grip to Chuck Taylors to barefoot to squat shoes, whatever it is, there's been a lot of variability there. So lately, what I had been doing was this kind of a hybrid sumo type of a deadlift that felt good on my hips. That was basically the goal of that lift, was that it didn't wouldn't bother my hip, and it would allow me to move a good amount of weight. So let's do it. I think I opened at 150, went really smooth, lightweight, perfect, boom. Went up to 160, and somebody had filmed me and said, "Do you want to see the video?" And I said, "No, I don't want to see the video. I just want to go and do it. I'll look at it after." It's too late to change anything now, right? That whatever software is uploaded or downloaded that is the software that is there, and that is what we're using, and we're not going to change that in the middle of running a program, right? So 160 comes around, and it moved a little slower, but it honestly was totally okay. I felt my back break posture a little bit. It felt much more drastic than it was, and I did actually ask to see the video after that second lift. This was my downfall. Now, I knew that was a bad idea to do that, but I thought that if there was one thing, if I could take one small cue to focus on, that would be an easy switch. Well, the problem is that easy cue was a setup position. I needed to drop my hips lower in the start to keep a more vertical spine, which is something that at points I have done in the gym, and at points I have not done in the gym. So ultimately, when I came up to the third attempt, that setup and where my head was in relation to what that lift was, it kind of went, instead of like this, it went like that. So it just, we butted up. There was no jive. Something didn't groove. I was thinking one thing, but my body, through all my warm-up sets, whether it was, 5, 6 sets, maybe 7 sets of warm-ups, none of them were in that start position. So me just thinking about it in between my heavy attempts, if I had made that adjustment in the beginning of the day, that probably would have been fine. But being in between those last final attempts, it was far too drastic of a change to expect a positive result. So sometimes, whether you're lifting yourself or coaching, sometimes it might be better to just let that one little flaw exist. I wasn't going to bust my spine. My back wasn't rounding that bad. It was just enough that I could feel that I had lost perfect neutral. And sometimes, under maximum efforts, you're going to break perfect neutral. That is part of a deadlift. Now, how much of that do we want to allow? That's to be determined. If I were trying to qualify for nationals or put up a big total for whatever reason, then I wouldn't care as much if my back was rounding from time to time. But ultimately, this was a bit of a training meet for me. Kind of went and did it for fun. It was cool to do a super total. I'm not really a power lifter, but I wanted to see what I could do. So, you know what? I'm okay with missing that one lift in exchange for walking away healthy. Again, if that was my biggest event of the year, then I would have been smarter to not change my technical errors at such a pivotal moment in the meet. However, considering that it was really more for health purposes, that I wanted to be safe, and there were no performance goals, really, I was okay with that. I was okay with missing a lift in the name of safety. And I think that's an interesting idea to have both in the gym and on the platform. So I think that my mindset is such that I'm in this for the long haul, and the thing that will make me the strongest is not getting hurt for the longest amount of time. If I can continue to train and not have major injuries, particularly in the deadlift, which is historically jacked up my lower back and left hip, then a year from now, that's the better option, because it will allow me to train at a higher level more consistently than just one time. So do you want to hit one lift today? Oh, I gotta hit a PR because I've been waiting for it all week, and I got the day off work, and I'm gonna spend all day in the gym, and I'm gonna smash a huge deadlift, and my back hurts a little bit, but I gotta hit 400. Why do you have to hit 400? Even at a meet, I could give a crap if I lift 365, 375, or 385. If I know at the end of the day I can walk away healthy, what is 20 pounds? Really, what is it? It's a difference of missing 6 weeks of training. It's a difference of chronic low back pain. It's a difference of wanting to compete again. If I know that every time I step onto the platform, I'm going to walk away and have 4 weeks of prehab to do afterwards, it ain't worth it. It's not. But if I can walk off the platform and 2 days later, continue to train and get back into another training cycle, maybe not 2 days, that's maybe not the smartest, but after a week deload, get back in and continue to build strength rather than tear apart my joints. I think that's, like I said, it's a worthy investment of my time. And I think that if there's two things overall that I learned from this meet, number one is that what you do in the gym is going to determine what you do on the platform. And people say all the time, it doesn't matter what you do in the gym, it just matters what you do on the platform. If you don't do it in the gym, if you don't have that motor pattern, if you don't have that sequence in your head, you don't have that setup position that you're going to want to use on meet day, then you're not going to be able to do it on meet day. If you've never trained with that kind of weight in the gym, you're probably not going to do it at the meet. People think that they'll lift more weights at a meet because I don't know why they think that, but between nerves and judging and specifics of it, maybe if you're peaked in such a way, you could hit a PR on your third attempt, I would say. Would be a good way about going, a good way to go about it, but ultimately, I will never expect to hit a weight on the platform that I have not hit in the gym with the same technique. Number one. Number two. I was going to say be patient, wait for your cues, but I kind of already said that. I don't know, go have fun. I think the big takeaway is what you do in the gym, you're going to go to your default. So whether that's dropping into the hole as soon as you unrack the squat or your setup position in the deadlift, don't expect to do anything on the platform that you didn't train for. That's what I'm saying. So hopefully next year we'll do the same event and show up with a little better total, maybe a little bit better weight class, maybe more involvement overall. Maybe we'll bring ASF team. We'll see where it goes. But it was exciting and it was fun, and I met some really awesome people. So I would definitely encourage you guys that if you're into lifting weights and you want to be a little bit stronger than you were the day before, sign up for a meet. Do it. Just go through the motions. Have this learning experience where you kind of, get all these issues and problems over with, so that way when you register for a meet that you actually care about, you can move forth and dominate. That's all I got for now. Take it easy.